Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today seems like a good day to go and have a look at the top 10 cards from Battle Region. And according to a text I got from DHL, I have 2 boxes of Battle Region, which are headed my way and will be with me very shortly. So assuming no news gets dropped and this becomes the first video today being Thursday, and assuming that the boxes actually turn up, then today's videos are going to be the top 10 list right now, which you're currently watching, and then later on today I'm going to be opening a box of it. And I am very, very excited about it. So, a couple that didn't quite make the list, but I thought were kind of cool. Radiant Hall Lucha, and yeah, we know they're called Radiant now, which I do not like anywhere near as much. It's a very cool card that lets you do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon VMAX. It's fine. It's a good card. It's going to help you hit the numbers in some matchups, but it wasn't adaptable enough for me to pop it on the list as a whole. Verizon V's got the same ability that the EX had back in the day. All of your Pokemon with grass energy attached cannot be affected by special conditions. Bearing in mind this will work with something like Aurora Energy, i.e. if you've got an Aurora Energy attached, this ability will also make you immune to special conditions. This is one that could see play in a bunch of decks to stop those pesky special conditions. Miltank V's got another one of those safeguard abilities, whereby you prevent all damage done to it by your opponent's Pokemon V, and yes, that does include VMAX and VSTAR. So that could be useful in a bunch of decks. That could see a little bit of play. And Silene is another card which I think has a whole bunch of potential. You flip 2 coins and you choose a number of cards from your discard pile equal to the number of heads and put those cards on top of your deck. Basically, it's a decent recovery card. All of those 4 were on my shortlist and I thought they might make it, but hey ho, they fell just a little bit short. But a card that did make it, in at number 10, we've got STARMIE V. And also, I've got to shout out here, the alternate art of this card, or the character super rare, which I really need to pull in one of my boxes because I am never going to be able to justify buying this card as a single. It's too expensive, but it's beautiful, and I really want it. But that's not why it's on the list. It's on the list for the attack Energy Spiral. For 2 water energy, you deal 50 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. And the deal here is really simple. We've got plenty of ways to accelerate water energy, so this is an easy attack cost to pay. Frostmoth will just let you attach the energy, which is nice. Frostlass, when you evolve up, will work very nicely indeed. And let's not forget we've got Melanie, the supporter card, and any of those can get that second energy on. And anytime your opponent attaches too much energy, you can smash with STARMIE. Or you can put STARMIE on the bench to make your opponent really think twice about attaching that extra energy, which in some games can be just as useful. In at number 9, we've got Cancelling Cologne. Now, I like this card, but this card is one which could go either way. It could end up being a phenomenal card, or it could end up being a huge, huge disappointment. Because you see, what it does, until the end of this turn, your opponent's active Pokemon has no abilities. Okay. And if Pokemon switch to active, they still don't have abilities. Now, this is interesting to me. It's kind of like Path to the Peak. But it only works on your opponent's Pokemon, which is a huge advantage because you get to keep your abilities. And it works on non-rulebox Pokemon, whereas Path to the Peak only works on rulebox Pokemon. Things like Miltank, for instance, you could turn off and smash with this. Problem is, it's an item card. But then again, we've got plenty of things around. You know, Drizzile sees a huge amount of play, and that can let you search out this as an item card. So, it's a weird one, and it's an awkward item card, but I do think there is a lot of potential here for this to see a whole bunch of play. In at number 8, we've got Hisuian Typhlosion V-Star, and this is one which I can't quite make my mind up. I might be massively overrating it. The main attack, free energy, 180, place free damage counters in any way that you like. I don't particularly care, it's not a particularly good attack. But I adore the V-Star power. For 1 psychic energy, if your opponent's active Pokemon has exactly 4 damage counters on, instant KO. It's exactly the same thing we saw with Evil Tau GX as the GX attack. And that got teched into a whole bunch of decks. Now, Evil Tower was a basic, and this is a single evolution, kind of a pseudo stage 1, so there are absolutely reasons to believe that Evil Tower is just better, which is why this is down the lower end of this list. But as a tech for cheeky KOs, I've got to put it on here, I'm sorry, it looks too fun. In at number 7, we've got JUBILIFE Village. Now, or JUBILIFE Village, I'm not quite sure which one it is. Either way, firstly, it's another one of those stadium cards drawn by Kato, and right now, I hope Oswaldo Kato just gets given all of the stadium cards, because goodness gracious me, they are amazing at these. Showed you Path to the Peak a moment ago, that's another one of theirs. They are crushing it on stadiums, which is a weird thing to say. I've never been particularly excited by the artwork on stadium cards. That's how much I'm enjoying these new ones. Point is, this is a really good card. Once during each player's turn, they may shuffle the hand into their deck, draw 5 cards, and it ends their turn. Cool. The fact of the matter is, right, this is not going to be for every deck, because you've got to end your turn in order to do it, and that's not an easy thing to do. But we saw this with Tropical Beach. Now, let's be clear. I am not saying this is Tropical Beach. Tropical Beach was draw till you have 7 cards in your hand, and then end your turn. And that saw a redonkulous amount of play in control decks that don't necessarily need to end the turn attacking, or setup decks. This was a great, great card. And JUBILIFE Village isn't as good, and I am not going to try and pretend for a second that it is. It's not. However, it is still a stadium card, and it is still a stadium card which can provide draw power, and it can still help you out of a whole bunch of binds, and I do imagine it will see a fair amount of play, and that for me is good enough to pop it in at number 7. In at number 6, we've got HOOTHOOT, not Noctowl, HOOTHOOT, and Pokemon realised quite how much better HOOTHOOT is than Noctowl, because it's not Noctowl that gets the character rare in this set. It's HOOTHOOT. And incidentally, it is a top 2 character rare that we've seen so far. The artwork here is absolutely stunning. This one, if I don't pull it in my boxes, I will just go and buy it because it's not terribly expensive. But goodness me, it's a stunningly beautiful card. But that's not why it makes the list. It makes the list for the ability, because the ability says, basic energy attached to your bench Pokemon can't be discarded by an effect of your opponent's items or supporter cards. And there's other things around, but let's be clear, this is for Crushing Hammer. It doesn't work on your active, it only works on your bench Pokemon, but Crushing Hammer. It means your opponent has to go after the active. It means you can build up energy on your bench Pokemon knowing they're not going to get discarded. Now, it won't work against something like Team Yell Grunt, because Team Yell Grunt puts the energy into your hand, it doesn't discard it. That's a very important distinction. But it means that if your opponent is trying to use something like Crushing Hammer to keep you in check, you can build up energy on the bench, knowing that your opponent can't go after it, because HOOTHOOT has totally got your back. In at number 5, we've got KAMADO, and basically what we're looking at here is a good new draw card, and good new draw cards are always going to end up high up this list. And what you do is you choose 1 card in your hand, keep that, discard the rest of your hand, and draw 4 cards. It's not quite as aggressive as Professor's Research, which discards your entire hand and draws 7. You end up with 2 fewer cards in hand. But you get to keep that 1 card you really don't want to discard, and that's what makes this so good. In decks that are super reliant on something like Twin Energy, discarding that Twin Energy can be brutal. If you've got 2 in hand, sometimes even 1, you can't play Professor's Research because you won't have the energy to finish out the game. KAMADO is your answer to that, and especially now that we've got stuff like Luminion to search out these supporter cards, it means that having 1 or 2 of supporters is going to be so much easier than it was before. You can play 1 of these and go and grab Luminion if Professor's Research isn't going to work this turn. It's a great supporter card. I expected to see a whole bunch of play. In at number 4, we've got Mightyena, and Mightyena is basically here because Mew V Max is the best deck in the format, and this is a ridiculous counter to Mew V Max. And it really is as simple as that. Although I should mention this is another one of those cards that did go and get a character rare, and it is a rather beautiful character rare. Now, what we see with Mightyena is an ability that says, if your opponent has any VMAX in play, doesn't have to be active, just in play, this Pokemon's attacks cost 3 colourless less. So then you do 160 to them, 60 to yourself for 0 energy, and would you believe it, 160 times 2 with weakness is 320, which is enough to KO a Mew. And I know that Mew players are saying, well, you know, you can't just play a 1-1 line, because I'll just gust up and KO the Poochyena before you get a chance, and that's true. You cannot play a 1-1 line of Mightyena and expect to smash Mew decks. But the fact of the matter is, if I take 6 spots in my deck and put a 3-3 Mightyena line in, that is going to turn my Mew matchup completely around. And that's 6 spots in my deck to completely transform my matchup against the, not just the best, but the actual dominant deck in the format right now. Don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen. That seems fine by me. I feel like I'm all right with that. I think I can live with that, quite frankly. So, yeah. This seems pretty gosh darn good. No, a 1-1 line is not going to cut it, and I am not going to pretend for a second that it is. But yes, if you play a thick line of this, it will absolutely transform your Mew matchup, and that is a very, very big deal indeed. Obviously, if Mew significantly drops in play, Mightyena significantly drops down this list. 160 is fine, but it's nothing amazing. This really is just a stunning Mew counter. In at number 3, we've got Radiant Greninja, and it's sad, but we do now know that the name is confirmed. These are Radiant Pokemon, not Sparkling Pokemon. Honestly makes me sad. I wish they were still Sparkling, but hey-ho, you can't win them all. And as far as I'm concerned, this is, by a bit of a margin, the best of the Radiant Pokemon. And I'm going to call them Sparkling a lot because I'm too used to it now. And also, if you look at the prices over in Japan, this is clearly number 1. Now, the attack is fine, 2 water, 1 colourless, discard 2 energy, 90 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. If you're playing something like a Frostmoth deck so you can get the energy on there easily enough, this can take out 2 supporting Pokemon in one go. You know, if you go first against an evolving deck, you can take out 2 evolving Pokemon straight away. It's phenomenal in something like a Frostmoth deck. But mostly it's here because once during your turn you may discard an energy from your hand and draw 2 cards. It is a basic Pokemon with a draw ability. Basic Pokemon with draw abilities are nuts. And unless you're playing very few energy in your deck, it is worth whacking 1 Sparkling Greninja in there just for the sake of it. Obviously, if you're playing a Dark deck, and you're playing Dark Patch, which you will be, although I suppose I really should have said Darkness, then this discards a Darkness energy, draws 2 cards, and then you Dark Patch it on. In any deck that wants energy in the discard, this is beyond essential. But even in other decks, just play as a one-off, take a bench space, and then you've got a draw engine there for the rest of the game for emergencies. I cannot be the only one that thinks this is amazing, and this is clearly a top 3 card. I think there is a bit of a difference between the top 3 here. There is no way I would put Radiant Greninja less than 3, although I would consider moving it up. Now, 1 and 2, I have flip-flopped massively, so I've gone with my heart here. In at number 2, we've got Roxanne. You can only play it if your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining. Both players shuffle a hand into their deck. You get 6 cards. Your opponent gets 2. Crucially, you can be winning the game. If you've got 1 prize remaining and your opponent's got 3 prizes remaining, you can still play this card. And that is going to be huge. So many games are going to be won and lost from dropping this card. And again, the fact that we've got Luminion here to very easily search it out is a very big deal. This is going to be a 1 or 2 of in so many decks. And it is going to make a huge difference here because you are just going to be able to just wreck your opponent's hand very, very quickly indeed. This is going to be a staple in a whole bunch of decks. This is going to be huge. And you could easily put it at number 1, but I've gone with my heart. And then at number 1, as you may have guessed, I'm putting Hisuian Samurott VSTAR. And I'm sure a bunch of you are going to be like, Wassy, don't be silly. Roxanne should be number 1. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you too much, but I want to put Samurott up here. And it's my video, so I totally am. And I really like Hisuian Samurott VSTAR. It is a Pokemon, I'm going to be building this deck and testing it out a lot. Because what we've got here is an attack for 2 Darkness Energy, and bearing in mind Dark Patch is back now, so it's not 1 energy, but it's not a million miles away. 110 damage. If your opponent's active already has any damage on, 220. Which is the magic number to KO Pokemon V. So I'm basically KOing any Pokemon V with a Stage 1 Pokemon for 2 energy when it's really, really easy to accelerate the second energy. Like, that's nuts. This is fast. This is extremely fast and extremely consistent, and it is going to be a very, very good deck moving forward. I feel extremely confident about that. As for the V-Star power, once during your turn, you may use this ability, put 4 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. And yes, there is a hilarious combo to be made here with Hisuian Typhlosion, because Hisuian Typhlosion drops 4 damage counters. Unfortunately, it is a V-Star power, which is once per game. So as much as it would be fun to use them both and get an instant KO on anything, I keep thinking that's going to be an amazing combo, and then remembering that V-Star powers are once per game, and I'm not allowed to use them, and that's very sad indeed. But it does mean that if there's a Pokemon I cannot get the damage on, I can just use this ability, and then it's kind of a 260 for a really easy to pay attack on a single evolution Pokemon. I think this is going to be good. I don't think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be nuts. I think it's going to be a top tier deck. I think it is going to be an absolutely great, great card. And I think we're going to see a huge amount of it. And if I'm wrong, ladies and gentlemen, I am wrong. And I'm totally okay with that. I really do think this is going to be a great deck moving forward. And that's why I put it in at number 1. But I want to know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you think Roxanne should be number 1? Do you want to give me your own top 10 in the comment section? I would be delighted if you did. Go nuts! But be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.